My name is Malcolm, and I'm a star guard for the Los Angeles Lakers. I first met my wife Jenna at a charity event 5 years ago, right after I was drafted into the league. She was smart, witty, and unlike any other girl I had met before. The chemistry between us was undeniable, and 2 years later we were married. Life was good. I had just signed a $40 million contract, and we bought a mansion in Bel Air to celebrate. The future looked bright. We were the envy of all our friends, throwing lavish parties and going on exotic vacations. But over the past few months, things started to feel wrong. Jenna's become distant and occasionally cold. She's constantly texting in secret from me and covering her phone screen. My intuition tells me she's cheating, but some part of me hopes I'm just being paranoid. I get home one evening after a long drive and find Jenna frantically shoving her phone into her purse. "Who were you just texting with?" I ask carelessly. "No one important," Jenna replies without looking me in the eye. I grab her phone before she can react and catch a glimpse of her latest text to my teammate Brandon. "I wish I could be with you right now too, babe." I read. Jenna snatches her phone back, her face turning red. "It's not what you think, Malcolm. Brandon and I are just good friends." I feel my blood begin to boil as my suspicions are confirmed. How long has my wife been having an affair with my teammate behind my back? I barely slept a wink last night when I saw a text from Brandon on Jenna's phone. My mind was spinning, trying to piece together the evidence. I see signs of their affair now that I hadn't noticed before. The secret smiles in the locker room, her coming to home games this season. I decide to discreetly check Jenna's phone while she's in the shower. As I scroll through her messages, my heart sinks. Their flirtatious messages span the entire season. And they're not just chatting, they're sending each other intimate photos with details of hotel hookups. I can feel the rage boiling up inside me as Jenna comes out of the bathroom. "Was that Brandon you slept with behind my back?" I throw my phone on the floor. Jenna looks at me defiantly. "So what's the big deal? A woman has needs. You know that." I'm stunned by her audacity. "We're married. You can't cheat and lie behind my back." "Don't play innocent," Jenna fights back. "Like you never cheated on those long road trips. At least Brandon's paying attention to me." We argue fiercely until I decide I've had enough. I run out of the house to clear my head before I do something I'll regret later. I realize I need evidence against Jenna if I'm going to expose her deception. I'm calling the best private investigator in town. If Jenna thinks she can keep intimidating me, she's in trouble. I'll catch her red-handed, and then we'll see who looks like a fool. It had been a week since I'd hired private investigator Ivan to keep an eye on Jenna. I hadn't given any indication that she was being followed and was eagerly awaiting news. Finally, Ivan asks for an urgent meeting. When I arrive at his office, he presents photos and video evidence confirming Jenna's affair with my teammate Damien. The cop details how they met at hotels before games for romantic dates behind my back. I can feel the bile rising in my throat as I examine picture after picture. Was it the same guy the whole time? I ask Yvonne, perplexed as to why she's texting Brandon but sleeping with Damien. "I'm afraid it's more than one teammate, Mr. Bryant," Ivan replies solemnly. "I have reason to believe that your wife has been intimate with at least 3 other players that I know of." I am completely shocked. My head is spinning as I try to realize the extent of Jenna's betrayal. I hastily pay Ivan and drive home in a daze. Confronting Jenna again, I throw the evidence in her face. "How could you do that?" I shout angrily. Jenna tearfully shakes her head. "Because I was lonely. Malcolm, you're never around and I have needs." Her words infuriate me even more. I point to the door, coldly suggesting she pack her things and get out. As Jenna leaves, I sink down onto the couch, resting my head on my hands. My fairy tale marriage crumbled seemingly overnight. How could I have been so blind to what was happening right under my nose all this time? In the weeks since I'd kicked Jenna out, the story of her affairs had spread like wildfire. There were rumors that she'd slept with half a dozen of my teammates and other players. I stopped going out to avoid pitying looks and gossip. My coach constantly calls me into his office, urging me to see a counselor. "You're clearly going through something and it's affecting your game," he says bluntly. You're failing easy throws. You're not right in the head. I know my game has deteriorated, but I just can't focus on the court when there's a storm raging in my personal life. Every time I look at Brandon, Damian, or the other guys, I picture them in bed with my wife. I constantly feel on edge, like I can't trust anyone. After a bad play where I carelessly move the ball, coach sits me down on the bench. "I'm doing this for your own good," he tells me. "Spend some time working on yourself." That night, I sink into depression after watching us lose on TV. I realize that my anger and trust issues are sabotaging the only thing I have left, basketball. Finally mustering up the courage, I call the therapist my coach recommended to me. If I have any hope of saving my career, I need to get over this betrayal and start healing. She invites me to an emergency session the next morning. I hesitantly walk into my first therapy session, not knowing what to expect. "What brings you here today?" Dr. Nina asks softly. I talk about what I found out about Jenna's adventures and how I spiraled after kicking her out of the house. "I know she hurt you deeply, but it's obvious that you still have unresolved feelings for her," Dr. Nina comments. I sigh heavily. Honestly, some part of me still loves Jenna deeply. When it was just the two of us, things were really good. Over the next hour, Dr. Nina helps me think about the cracks in our marriage that I've turned a blind eye to, how my emotional and physical absence has made things worse over time. An affair is never justified, but it often stems from unmet needs in a marriage, she explains sympathetically. If you want to keep it, you're going to have to work on it on both sides. I walk away feeling as if I've been relieved of the burden of responsibility for actually talking things through. I attend twice a week, doing exercises to rebuild my self-esteem and manage my anger. After a month, I feel clearer and more in control of the situation. My game is back to an all-star level. I decide I am ready to organize a reconciliation trip with Jenna to continue healing. I still think we can save our family. I wait anxiously in the luxurious cabin I've rented for our weekend getaway. When Jenna arrives, we hesitantly embrace. The tension between us is palpable. We start with small talk over dinner, but I know we need to discuss the elephant in the room. Taking a deep breath, I say, "I know we both made mistakes that led us here. If this marriage has any chance of surviving, we need radical honesty." Jenna nods, tears filling her eyes. "You're right. I shouldn't have betrayed our vows, no matter how neglected I felt. It was so wrong, and I'm deeply sorry." I swallow the lump in my throat. "I'm responsible too. I took you for granted. Wasn't there for you emotionally or physically? You deserved more from me." We talk for hours, peeling away layers of resentment and misunderstandings that have been building up for years. It's painful, but it brings relief. For the first time, I feel hopeful. At the end, I take Jenna's hands in mine. "I can't promise it won't be easy since you've slept with a lot of my teammates, but I want to make an effort if you want to, too. I don't want to lose us forever." Jenna squeezes my hands tightly. "I want that more than anything. I know the road ahead won't be easy, but I believe that together we can heal. I want to try to save our marriage for the sake of our little children. When you cheated on me, you thought about the fact that not only your husband was waiting for you at home," I said, looking into her eyes, "but also two little angels who need a strong family. We decided to try to forget everything and start over, if possible."